What's going on, everybody? I thought I'd go ahead and shoot a video tonight, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Just been too busy, messing with the Kong and tying up the loose ends with the track and field. I still have to go ahead and basically bring the monitor in. The horizontal width coil isn't working, so it's not all the way where I need it to be. But today, or this evening I shall say, I thought I'd just do a walkthrough, but not your typical walkthrough showing the games. Maybe I'll just sit here and show each game, talk about each one, what I did to it, and maybe talk about how much these things cost to actually tinker with. So some of these you can get for rather cheap if you're lucky. A lot of it's a mad dash, checking Facebook and Craigslist and OfferUp and Let Go. And being in Vegas, this is a small market. There's really there's a lot of competition out here for games. So if you're not ready to go with cash in hand, and forget about it. So with that being said, I call this the ghetto garage-cade because, as you can see, it's a garage. I've tried my best to make this a game room. Added the AC and mismatched carpet. But it still feels like a garage because I still use it as a garage coming in and out on this side. So with all the storage, the pink car's up there now. But I went ahead and got a workbench finally, and a dedicated space. This is a Donkey Kong board I've been working on. Got a couple ROMs coming. And that's the Geo 7 chassis. The flyback caught fire. Well, it didn't catch fire, but smoked up, filled up the garage full of smoke. So that's what I'm doing here. This is a switcher kit from High Score Saves. It's for a Nintendo. So this one will basically hook up two boards to one cab, and the Nintendo has little pins in the board. It's not an edge connector, or I should say edge connector. So you'll connect all the little pins up here and put it on top of the board. So they have all these connectors that all plug in here, your CPU, sound, video, and whatnot. Or you can use the edge connector, but Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. used all these little separate wires. Donkey Kong 3 went to the edge connector, but at least it's still built in. So basically you just put this on top and plug in all the little connectors there, and then this ribbon cable here will plug in to that. So you'll have one board here, the other board will be on this way, and there's your ribbon cable to plug into that, and the power. And you also, if you're going to be messing with the Nintendos, you'll need a ribbon cable to jumper the power from the video board over to the other side. So that's next. I went ahead and I ordered a Donkey Kong I purchased a Donkey Kong 3 PCB from Mike's Arcade. Wasn't too bad. It was about $3.29 shipped, which dealing with people on Facebook and unknown, you don't know where to get the boards from. I had a friend who picked up a board or two and they didn't work. Took him three times, and he finally picked up one from Todd Tucky that actually worked. So he's out that money, so I didn't want to mess with that. So it was $2.95 plus shipping, $29. He's up in Utah. I'll have it next week, which isn't a bad deal. So Mike has a 30-day warranty with his boards, so I thought it wasn't a bad decision to go ahead and spend the extra $50-60. Now with that being said, I was watching a video from that Tim guy on YouTube and Twitter, and he asked a question, hey, should I talk about what I paid for my collection? And I replied, yeah, hell yeah. It's kind of a weird subject that people don't want to talk about in this hobby. And I get it, because a lot of people buy stuff cheap and sell, and they don't want you to know what they paid for these things. But a lot of people that aren't in the hobby, they see this and they go, oh, holy, whoa, what? And, besides from the pins, that's another discussion for another day. But as far as the videos are concerned, the vids are concerned, a lot of these can be had for cheap. I got in the game late, so a lot of these I picked up for a little bit more than a lot of the guys that have been in the hobby for 10, 20 years even. So I guess I can start, talking about each one, and when I got it and how I acquired it, and I'll make it short and sweet, not to bore you if you made it this far. But these things are attainable. All it takes is space. If you have the space, you can have them. So, and if you have any type of skills, messing around, I'm pretty much, I suck at a lot of this. A lot of these I've learned from other channels, like Jay at Delusionals Arcade is one, taught me a lot. Of course, John at John's Arcade, and Ty, T Glory. A lot of these guys are very, very helpful, and and other people on Klov, that I've met along the way. Facebook too is a great resource now. That a lot of people have moved off of the forum type, computer-based, communication, and moved on to Facebook. I met a lot of really cool guys. Andy Ruiz on Facebook, been very helpful, helping me diagnose and fix and send me parts, and sent me that for nothing in a box. I was working on my millipede board that was broke. I sent it to him, and he fixed it, sent it back. It wasn't working. He sent me another one before I even sent the other one back. So there's a lot of cool people in the hobby, which is crazy. That board is a $250 board, and the guy just sent it to me and was like, all right, just send it back whenever. And I was just like, oh, okay. With that being said, we'll start with this big hunk of junk. That's my main cab that I got. This thing is built with 2x4s and MDF, and I picked this thing up probably in 2003. I've always been an arcade nerd, video game guy, and I got into MAME in early 2000, and I picked this up from some builder in like Michigan or something, and I found him on the BYOC, Build Your Own Arcade Controls forum, and I probably paid about $1,200 shipped at the time. And when I got it, I was happy. I didn't care. All I needed to do was add a computer. So I built a real cheap computer, probably cost me about $400 at the time, and it had a television set in it, and I had a video card that I got from Ultramark back in the day that would run this old stuff. As you know, it doesn't take much to run these old games. But when I got it, this is this like, they sprayed on some type of like bed liner to it. But the thing is very heavy, it's very well built, but it's ugly as shit. I don't remember what the bezel was at the time. I know there was a TV in it, and I had it at my mom's house when I lived, with them, and me and my brother went halves on it, which he never paid me for, so that's why I repossessed it. But basically I moved out, but the cab stayed in the house. Me and my mom would play, and play bowling and Michael Jackson Moonwalker and have a great old time. But once I moved out, they basically left the TV on for years. The TV was, they turned the computer off but leave the TV on. So when I finally repossessed it, probably in repossessed it in 2009. I got it back to my house, and it worked for like a day, and then the TV crapped out. So I'm like, crap. So it was just basically a television and like I think maybe a cardboard bezel covering. It was ugly. So I went to Craigslist, and I found actually somebody was selling a monitor here in Vegas. This is one of those 27-inch Mac Vision monitors, CRTs that run at 800 by 600, and this thing was brand new in the box that I found. It was like 200 bucks. So I grabbed that, and I just basically just shoved it in there, and there was nothing here. There's 2x4s here, and I just anchored it in there and just left it and was like, all right, cool, it's working again. So I just enjoyed it like that. I didn't even have the marquee, this cheap little marquee that I bought, you know, from arcademarquees.com. That guy's awesome. He does all the Neo Geo ones. So if you need any Neo Geo mini marquees, but he'll print you out some generic stuff. So that's what just pretty much left it. So with this, I just pretty much left it out as it was, had it in my apartment, and I played it every now and then. And it probably around 2015 or so, when I moved into this house, this thing was just looking ugly. So I decided to actually get back into this, you know, into MAME and arcade stuff. And there's like a 2x4 that runs here. I notched it out and actually sunk this back in to where it needed to be and bolted it in. I got a piece of plexi, you know, measured it out, spray painted it, you know, actually have a bezel. That wasn't enough. So then I went ahead and built a new control panel for it. It basically had a control panel that bolted in here and here, with basically half competition sticks and some buttons. So I decided to go all nuts with this thing. And people don't realize these things aren't cheap when you start adding up everything. So a lot of this stuff's from either Andy at Ultramark or Brian at Paradise Arcade. They have Sanwa joysticks with aluminum bats, purple, from Brian. All the buttons from Brian Armitage, and this Ultramark trackball from Andy. So this is basically the inside here. Carpeted it, and I had my friend Matt help me out with this. We basically cut the box and just run everything down to the computer. I built the computer. It's a mini or micro ATX, you know, CPU computer, you know, whatnot. Sorry, that fits down in there because I had a tall tower, and I had some old Logitech Z5500 computer speakers. So there's a sub that's down in there that runs that with the little control panel that I can control the sound. I just got to reach in there. And then I had some old Definitive Technology surround sound that actually I have up top there for the sound. And if I crank this up, it'll literally wake up the whole house. It's crazy. I love the old Logitech Z55s. It's perfect for this. It's not conventional. I mean, they had the speaker there. It was a single shitty speaker. And I put LED lighting in here, but what they had originally was a light bulb fixture that you screw in a light bulb, and ran it down there. It was dangerous as shit. It was just hot wires all the way down with a power strip in the back. So I rewired everything safely, put the LEDs in, tapped it in down there. And this thing here was probably refurbishing this thing. This control panel was probably close to $500. I had this, you know, made up. Somebody hooked me up on build your own arcade controls. I just found that online. It's from the Luigi's Mansion. He printed it out for me. I sent it off and had it printed and put it on. Lee at Haraman's Arcade built this panel for me at a melamine. I just gave him my dimensions and what I wanted. He built it. I built one, but I messed it up, and I didn't want to spend another $50 for a piece of pine plywood. So I just opted to send everything off to Lee at Haraman's Arcade, and he went ahead and cut everything for me, and I got it back perfect. So all in all, you know, this thing was 1,200 bucks a long time ago, and I spent a stupid amount of money on the control panel. Not stupid, but that's basically what it is if you want a good control panel and all the electronics. And then the computer was another pretty much $700. I went with the Core i5. I went overkill. I wanted to run Golden Tee 2005 on it because it was very CPU intensive at the time. So yeah, that's that. So I'll hurry this up along. I installed, I have a Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition on here. It's pretty popular with all my friends. Kind of get down on that. Well, next up is the Outrun Sega 1986. I picked this up. It was pretty beat up for about 350 bucks. I went ahead and rebuilt all the gears, put it all back together, and it was still hammered. I had to spend some more money on it. So all in all, you know, with 350, the monitor was shot. I went ahead and had a K4900 that's in this, and had that rebuilt, new tube and everything. So that was another 250, and then figure the gears and whatnot, probably another $150. I got a new old stock control panel, that was 200 bucks. Yeah, it's these add up quick. So, you know, it's kind of new to the hobby. So, but this is a keeper. It was one of my favorites playing as a kid, so I didn't have a problem spending that kind of money on that. I pretty much was, you know, buying Golden Tees from Captain's Arcade and updating them and fixing them and selling them and whatnot. So some of this stuff here was funded, you know, the Outrun parts was funded from that. Next, what else is next? Oh, the Golden Tee. Well, I had some of the games have come and gone that I've had, but I would say the Golden Tee would be next up. This is running 2020. It's a 2020 pedestal. This is originally a 2017 that I bought down in Arizona for 2,500 bucks, and then the update was another 450 to current. I think it was 2019 at the time, and then this year's update was another 450. So sorry about that. And Golden Tee, the community's great. It's fun to play. Everybody loves it, and I've met a lot of cool people. My buddy Daryl, I helped him fix a Nighthawk computer, that's what's in here, because his was broke, and he had this. But it was a Capcom bowling that had vinyl on the sides and wood grain paneling on the front. So once I got it home, this was free. He just gave it to me because he knew I was into arcades. So once I got it home, I stripped off the side vinyl and saw this beautiful side art. Still intact. No hand wear for people grabbing the sides at all. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm doing a Pac-Man. So being that this was free, that was cool. So I went ahead and got a board, 100 bucks. I had my friend Rob come and help me out with the wiring. The original harness was in there. It was converted to JAMA with the Capcom bowling, but which was cool, was the operator left all the original wiring in there, which is great. Most of the time they ripped that out. So Rob came over, made heads and tails of it, and pieced it all back together, which was just a couple splices, which was great. So, and another local collector hooked me up with that. Thanks, Greg. And I bought a control panel for it and restored that. And this is an original control panel I found on eBay. It was probably about 80 bucks. Just a little nick there, but this is original. Didn't have a joystick, I rebuilt that. Sorry, I used cabaret buttons. I like those better. Restored the coin door. I bought the stencil from this little game for about 80 bucks. and a local collector helped me do that because I'm not a painter. You went ahead and did that. This had a 4600 in it. It started to go out, so I took it over to Sharp Image and just gave them that for credit, and I had them build me out a K7000. And this has a multi-kit in it, and I could switch games by just holding down this button, I think. It's been a while. Let's see if we can do that. Boom. As you can see here, I have all the Pac-Mans in here that I could choose. Let's do Miss Pac-Man fast. It'll just boot up whatever. And I also have a Junior Pac-Man board with the high score saves pack switcher. So there's two PCBs in here. So next up, the Centipede. Thanks my buddy Mike, hooked me up with that. That was $400. And it worked. I just had to repin the video connector on it. It's got a new Vision Pro monitor. I haven't touched it, I'm leaving it alone. These cost too much to restore. It's a Survivor, a little bit of water damage on the bottom, but the side art's okay. You know, somebody taped this. I'm like, whatever. They made 1 million Centipedes. So unless you really love Centipede, there's no use of spending, you know, $200-300 for side art and whatnot. Looks good, plays good, great. I bought a millipede board with the multi-kit on it that I need to install. So I'll put that in there soon. What did I get next? Oh, next up, that's still here, Super Mario Brothers Mushroom World. I started messing around with pins. I never really was a pin guy. I'm a video guy. I grew up in the 80s. So pins are like, hey, that's what I thought until I started playing some pinball at the Pinball Hall of Fame here in Vegas, and one of the local guys had one. I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty fun. So I started to actually appreciate playing some pinball. I bought a Shack Attack, Gottlieb Shack Attack for like $1,200, and I put like $400 into it and sold it for $2,000. And then I sold it. I'm like, you know, bye-bye. And then I seen this pop up on Craigslist one day, and it was listed for $950. That's all I'm gonna say. I didn't know anything about this game. I didn't know how rare it was, nothing. I just saw it. I love Nintendo, and I was like, you know what? Hey, I'll just call the guy. So once I called him up, he said it was up for 15 minutes. He already had a buyer from Arizona that was gonna come on Thursday. This was on a Tuesday. I'm like, I'll come in 2 hours with the cash. Sold. Cash is king. You gotta be fast, you gotta be quick, you gotta have money, you gotta be ready to go. So, scored this. This thing worked. You know, it had a little bit of water damage up here, and the sides are planking, but it worked. So I went ahead and cleaned everything up. I put some LEDs in the back box. I LED'd and cleaned up everything. And here, it's in great shape. You know, a lot of these holes you can see are blown out, but this one isn't too bad. Sorry. The only issue I have with this is it was blowing the GI fuse. I put one of those fusible 7 amp, I think. Whatever it was, I went lower than was rated because I kept blowing fuses. And it just alligator clipped it to the GI. I was trying to diagnose which one of these lamp sockets are shorted out, and it stopped blowing the fuse. So I'm like, all right, it works, whatever, I'm done. So I'll get back to it at some point. It's working, it's great. Next, what was next? Next would be the Neo Geo. Picked this up here in Vegas. It was around $350. The monitor was shot, tube was burnt out. It worked. It was very dim. The sound didn't work. The artwork was okay. It was just typical peeling here, you know, scratches. This thing was, you know, rusted out. you know, but and the EL panels didn't work. Like, it needed a lot of work. I didn't realize it, but you know, it did. So, you know, at the time I was going through some rough stuff. After my mother passed away, I just decided to, you know, screw it and work on this and just go to town on this. And you know, there was no corners cut on this. I just dumped a bunch of money into it. So, you know, powder coated pretty much the coin door, this, pretty much everything, even the PCB cage. New overlays, new artwork from Joe Sazbo, new buttons. Joysticks are original. Just went ahead and rebuilt them, cleaned them up, bought new switches, powder coated coin door, laminated the front, because that's usually vinyl, laminated the side, that's vinyl, laminated this in red, and then put the artwork over it. So, it came out decent. T-molding, power supply was replaced. Bought a cap kit for the sound, for the PCBs, then the sound came up, and bought new EL panels for about 10 bucks a piece. Of course, Rob came to save the day and put those in, and those are working now. So I can select, you know, the game. We got Shock Troopers, some kind of horse racing game, Samurai Showdown, Bust a Move. It's great. It's very versatile CAD. You can put in, I got a little collection of games going up there. So that was, I got this last year, probably August. The day after my mother died, I just went and got it. My wife gave me the money, felt sorry for me. He's like, here you go. Gave me something to work on. Gotta appreciate that. So, next would be Willy Wonka that I picked up. That was in November. I had a Deadpool that was sitting here. I sold that to fund this. This is a very expensive, you know, pins are stupid. So they're a lot of fun, but they're a ridiculous amount of money. There's a lot of upkeep involved, but they're fun as hell. I always love Willy Wonka. When I seen this announced last year, I just had to have it. So, if you want to know, this is a collector's edition. And JJP has a 27-inch screen in there. Stern has a smaller LCD, and then of course, you know, you have the standard DMG. But, you know, beautiful game. Tough as nails. Yeah, it's hard to talk price on these pins because it's almost embarrassing, but look it up. JJP, Willy Wonka Collector's Edition. Next, after that, was the December. And we have 720. So I dropped off the Deadpool to a gentleman in California. Very nice guy, still talk to this day. Cool ass person. And dropped the Deadpool off and went and picked this up from a collector down in Huntington Beach. This, I'd gotten burnt out from doing restores on the Neo Geo, so I paid $2,700 for this, out the door, working, not a problem with it. The only thing I've done to it was I powder coated the coin doors. I repinned the headers on the bottom board because it was giving me some voltage issues, and that's about it. I got a few things. I'll probably need to cap this monitor at some point. You know, it's an original 720. It's got some burn, 720 burn, but it looks great. Just let it ride till the wheels fall off, so to speak. It's a fun game. Love playing it. Used to skate in the 80s, so Powell Peralta, Bones Brigade. All right, man, 30 minutes. Sorry for the long video. Well, after that, pretty much I had ordered this in November. Just got it last week. But next in line would be the Donkey Kong. I had a local guy call me up and say, hey, this is on Facebook. for 500 bucks. Go get it. So that's what I did. And this thing needed a lot of work. The base was missing on the bottom. It was leaning forward, so the corners were blown out. So, but it was working. The monitor needed to be repaired, so it needed a lot of love. So all in all, man, I pretty much went pretty nuts with this, price-wise, because Nintendo stuff ain't cheap. But you know, initially, you know, 500 bucks for the cab, about $300 in parts from Mike's Arcade, and then the monitor was repaired. That was another about $150. So you could do the math there. It adds up quick doing these things. The switcher was 100 bucks. I bought the DK Junior board for $250 shipped, and then I just recently bought a Donkey Kong 3 board for another $320. So if you do the math, it's pretty expensive. But had I just wanted to just fix this up, you know, 500 bucks, you know, plus a 150 to fix the monitor, you know, I could have had a Donkey Kong for well under $1,000. But that's not my style. I like to go all out, make a triple Kong eventually. So I was in a mad dash to finish that. So I picked up this, had that coming, and the track and field. I love this game. Used to play this at the 7-Eleven in San Diego when I was a kid. Used to beat the hell out of this game. So it was always on my list. Been looking for a long time. And one in this condition, it's a double coin door and not the single raised coin door, which I would have loved to have, but you can take what you can get. I had this ship from Nashville, and it had 2 boards in it, track and field and hyper sports, and 2 extra PCBs and some connectors, and that was, I got them down to about $1,400. The original one is $1,750 for the whole lot, but the corner, not this one, but the other one was blown out that I had to fix, and I just negotiated with them. So I had it down to 14, then it was 400 to ship, for $430. So you're looking at, you know, $1,830. And then the COVID money, that's $1,200 minus that. So this is basically COVID cab. This is my COVID cab. So I'll sell the PCBs in it, you know, to make that money back, and you know, this will be basically almost free. I bought a multi-kit for the Hypersports board to be installed, and then I'll have all the games on one board. Then I could sell the track and field board for another $200. So all in all, it was a good deal. It was a lot of work getting that corner fixed and whatnot, and then the monitor caught fire. The flyback went out, so that was another $185 to fix. I kept the Geo7 in there, and I kept the chassis to practice on, so I can learn to start fixing my own monitors at some point. And last but not least, the holy grail of pins here, Medieval Madness Royal Edition. This I put a deposit on back in when it was announced, end of October, with Zach Mini flipping out pinball. So if you need any pins, hit up Zach at Flipping Out. I got both these from him. So this bad boy has a full extra large DMD, lighted speakers, and the DMD's color. The original wasn't color, this is full color. And it was everything was redrawn in color, all the frames. Got this cool topper. But now I know why after actually owning this. I played it at the Pinball Hall of Fame. I played this on Pinball Arcade. This was one of the first things when I started getting into pins. I got Pinball Arcade on Steam and started playing it. And I came across this game. I'm like, what is this? Medieval Madness. All right, I'll fire this up. Started playing it and I'm like, whoa, this is pretty fun. And that was on the computer. So I went to the Pinball Hall of Fame and started to play this a few times that I visited the place and got hooked. And then I went and looked it up. I'm like, I want this pin. How much is this? Womp, womp, womp. It was, at the time, the original ones, they didn't make very many of them. They're anywhere from $8,000 on up. An original one, you know, will set you back 10 to 12 grand. Chicago Game Company went ahead and did some remakes in 2015, and they started at 8 grand, and they held firm at 8. Even used one would still ring you $7,500, $7,800. So, with that being said, this was like, oh, I had to have this at some point in my life. So, when they announced that they were doing the remakes to align with the Monster Bash and Attack from Mars with the extra large display, LEDs, full color LEDs, which the 2015 remakes don't have, you know, GI controlled LEDs, and powder coated coin door, bars, side rails. I was like sold. This was 10.5. So. Oh, and also since I'm here in Vegas, I installed that 2 years ago. That was around $2,400. It's a split AC unit. I insulated the roof of the garage. I insulated the doors. I need to redo the trim to keep, you know, the heat out. But I can get this garage down to about 66 degrees when it's 105 outside. So I can be out here all year long. It's got a heater, which helps too. So. Well, this has gone on for way too long. All my little toys up there.
Little surprises on every corner, but nothing dangerous.
Shut up. Yeah, every now and then you're out here working and Gene Wilder will talk to you. Well, that's about it. If you have any questions, comments, hit me up. Leave a comment below. Follow me on Twitter, Gumby510. I appreciate you hanging in. Until next time, later.